And welcome back to TheNosePlays Crusader Kings 3. I have taken some time to play this game over the last couple of weeks while I haven't been around on YouTube. I've been playing a lot of it off camera. I think I have about 45 hours under my belt now. I think my original first impression that this was a game that I would hopefully really enjoy based on my first impression has come true. This is a very entertaining game. There are a lot of unique systems that I've never really encountered because I haven't played anything like this before. And I have indeed really enjoyed it as I've gotten to learn the systems better and figure it out and do a little better each time that I've played. So we're going to continue that learning experience today, and I'm going to try to play my first game on camera for you guys and sort of show you some of the things that I've learned, some of the systems that I'm still figuring out, and maybe get some feedback from some of my more experienced viewers in this particular genre. I have spent a very good amount of time watching a number of very experienced Let's Players play the game and teach the game, and so I've picked up a lot of tips and tricks from their videos. If you are interested in this game but are having trouble getting into it because you don't understand some of the mechanics, I highly recommend that you check out some of these really great players' critiques of the game and descriptions of the game systems. They've been very helpful for me. In addition to that, I've sort of not encountered certain tips that I've come up with, some strategies and some things that I think are interesting. And so I haven't seen anybody talk about it. I'm sure somebody has, but I haven't come across them. So I probably will be sharing and pointing out some of those things as we get into the first game. One of the first things that I recommend you do when you are starting this game is definitely play the initial tutorial and pay attention and really take your time and read through all of those tutorial tabs that pop up. They're pretty helpful at getting you a good foundation of just not how to play the game as much as this is where all of these systems live, and you need to be able to interact and learn about them. There's a few that are not really well done, but you'll probably be able to find some good information online for those systems, and maybe somebody like me can show you some of those. So we're going to get into it. The other thing that I would highly recommend that you do is choose a time period that you want to play in and kind of stick to it for a while, and also sort of pick a government system that you want to play in and sort of stick with factions of that government. So if you're going to play like in the 1066 period or whatever, and you want to play a feudal government, do feudal for a while and don't mix and match governments. Don't try a bunch of different ones. Maybe at first you should, but figure out what you want to play and then stick to it for a while. Because one of the things that I found is the government systems are really different. They play a little bit differently. There's a lot of different stuff going on, and that's probably the biggest hurdle that I've had in my early games, is figuring out government. So, what are we going to do for my very first on-camera playthrough? Well, the tutorial had us spending a lot of time in Ireland, but we were playing in the 1066 campaign. I've actually enjoyed playing the older medieval campaign a little bit more, and so I think what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into an what year is this? 867 campaign. And I think my primary goal is going to be to unite the Emerald Isle. Ireland is a pretty interesting location to play in. It's fairly secluded from the rest of Europe. You do certainly have some Viking invasions that can become a problem, but it's a fun little challenge to try to unite this, and I've managed to do it at least once now. I think maybe twice in different playthroughs. So getting the Kingdom of Ireland is not super hard, but it's a good challenge, and you can do it in 1 or 2 generations pretty easily if you play well. What we're going to do is talk about where the best place to start is, and I don't know that there is one that is particularly the best. They all have their own strengths and advantages or disadvantages. In the 1066 campaign, you start with the petty king of Munster, and Munster is one of the better regions, and I'll show you why real quickly. The Duchy of Munster is 3 regions large, which is kind of important. Having 3 different regions gives you more access to troops, more access to taxes, and so if I were the petty king of Leinster, I would only have these 2 regions. Meath are these 2 regions, Ulster has 3 regions up north, and Connacht has 2 regions here. So you can see several of them only have 2 regions, and others have 3. So that's kind of important to be aware of. Having one of the ones that has 3 is a better way to maybe get a quick start, but it's not terribly important because you're probably going to conquer multiple regions, and you'll have multiple duchies before long in the early game if you're playing well. So that's something to keep in mind. In order to become the King of Ireland, we have to own most of this territory here. And so you can see if I zoom out here, there's no other islands, no other spaces that would be part of our holdings. Our title basically gives us the right to own all of these, and if we don't own these for any reason, but we have the title, we can use that title to make a claim on those territories, because everything in green here belongs to the King of Ireland. Anything outside of that does not necessarily belong to the King of Ireland by that particular title, but there are other ways you can expand the nation of Ireland. So good to be aware of those 2 things, no matter where you decide to play. Take a look at your duchies and your kingdom that you're going to be attempting to pick up. So this is where we're going to spend our focus. I can click on a number of these regions, and this one in particular is interesting because it actually starts with 2 regions. So you actually start with this territory and this territory. That means that this guy actually has probably the best starting position in the game by owning 2 territories, but it's not entirely true. I can click on a couple of different places here and get some information about him and his heir. Is it? So, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. So if I mouse over this, you can see specifically at the top of the box there, it'll give you the duchy, rank, realm. So it gives you basically your title. And then it tells you how many soldiers you're starting with. So he has 388 soldiers. You can see the smaller region of Ulster here only has 275, 349, 298, 299. And this is an important number to keep in mind, because this is going to determine at the very beginning of the game kind of where your power lies and what you can do really, really quickly. So for example, if you were to take on this region, you start with 325 soldiers, and your closest neighbor only has 288 soldiers. So depending on some of the other details of your military commander and any knights you have, you might be able to very quickly take over this region with your stronger military force. Now, keep in mind the game is pretty active, and so as you get started, things change very quickly. people make alliances very quickly, and so a region that only has 288 soldiers but makes an alliance with this guy now has over 500 to your measly 325. So you're going to have to be careful how quickly you expand, but there is a good opportunity to do that depending on who you start with. This guy has 310 soldiers, and this is an interesting character that I actually had a lot of fun playing earlier. He's a little bit interesting in that he's 76 years old, and his heir is a child of 6. So you might think, well, that seems like a bad idea. There's a good chance we could get stuck with a child heir that takes over before they're really old enough to do anything useful. But he actually, and unless this is random, he actually has a lot of ways to make that work. I think these are randomized. I think you get different ones every time you play, but I'm not sure about his tree. So his lifestyle tree, I don't know if that's set in stone or not, or if that one is also randomized. So I think I'm going to pick him up just to see that, and we're going to give this guy a try again and see if I can do better than my last playthrough with him. But I did okay, even though I made some mistakes. So I think we're going to go ahead and pick him up and see if we can't make this work. Play. Save. Okay. So now that we're in game, the game is paused, and we have some opportunities to look at a few things. First of all, I can mouse over my one title that I currently have. And we're going to very quickly want to grab this territory and unite these two territories to create the Duchy of Leinster. I'm going to have some trouble with some of these names, but that's what we're going to be doing early on. So our first focus is to take out this guy's army. He has 315 soldiers to our... Where are we at? 310. So we're basically even. I have 5 champions, and I can see that he also has 5 champions. So we're super even in footing. Can I look at his court? I can. He has a martial skill of 13, and his highest marshaled character is actually an 11. So he's the one most likely to lead his army. Okay. So doing a little bit of groundwork up front can be helpful. There's a couple of other things that I could pay attention to right now with him, but I'm not super worried about it. His heir is an older character who also doesn't like us right now, so that's fine. Okay, this is randomized. Okay. So this is interesting. This is something I was unaware of. So your character's traits and his lifestyle is completely randomized from playthrough to playthrough. That is interesting. That's going to completely change the way that I approach this particular game. It looks like his stats are also way different than they were last time. So one of the things that I did with this character in my last playthrough that was so cool, because he's 76 years old, he happened to be a very well-developed learner. He had a learning lifestyle, and there's a bunch of things in the learning lifestyle that give you a boost to your health. And so I actually had so many boosts to this guy's health at 76 years of age that he lived to be 96. He lived 20 years, he reigned, which was quite amazing, and something I was hoping to replicate, but I'm not going to be able to do that because of the randomization, which kind of makes this pretty cool because you'll never get exactly the same thing twice. Because of his age, he has extensively developed his intrigue lifestyle. So we have 2 full trees completed and part of the 3rd tree. I was actually able to completely finish all 3 trees of learning with that 20 years of age on top of the 76 years the game started me off with, and actually start building into the martial tree, which was interesting. One thing that you should definitely pay attention to, and this is a tip that I think I have seen somewhere else. One of the YouTubers pointed this out. At the very, very beginning of the game, you can reset your perks. So if you get perks that you just really, really don't like, or maybe you have a plan of attack, but the trees that you started with aren't really the ones that you wanted to be in, this is one way to fix that problem right off the bat. Keep in mind this can only be done once per lifetime, so it has to make sense for you to do that. This would be one of those situations where I would consider it, because he has so many points to spend, that it could be worth resetting our perks, especially if there's more in this tree that we would like to take advantage of than these other 2 trees. I will be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with the Intrigue Tree. I spend a fair amount of time in the martial tree, and I've spent a fair amount of time in the learning tree because this character lives so long. Also a little bit of time in the stewardship tree. I have not spent as much time in this tree, so I don't know these abilities as much as I know the others. Finding Secrets, Kidnapper, Court of Shadows, Hostile Scheme, Chances of Success. You can actually run 2 hostile schemes. That's kind of cool. Murder Scheme, Power, plus 30%. A Job Done Right. Okay. And then the Schemer trait, Intrigue, plus 5. Hostile Scheme, Power. Alright, so we have the Seducer trait. And the Torturer traits. Do not lose piety or clergy opinion for torturing or executing. That was one thing I made a mistake on with an earlier character. I was doing this a lot before I got this talent, and it really set me back. Dread gain, fear tax, that's good. Dread decay. How much dread do we have right now? Dread is at 0. We start with 0 dread. Okay. So, bunches of seduction and fertility schemes. Thinking about how I want to play this character now. I'm extremely tempted to go ahead and pop the reset perks button. I think I would much rather have most of these things over here. Since we already have an heir. I think I would want this tree pretty much entirely filled out, though. Alright, let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and reset my perks. I've been overwhelmed by stress, not a big deal. We have 20 points to spend. I have to pick a lifestyle first. Alright, so which one of these do I want? Skullduggery, Agent Acceptance, Intimidation, Dread, Fertility, Attraction, Seduction Power. I think we're going to go for Skullduggery, and we're going to try a bunch of schemes, because I'm going to take the Schemer tree instead of the Seducer tree. So let's start with that. And now I get to pick my 20 points that I have. And we're going to go ahead and unlock this tree. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and unlock this tree. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get the entire tree unlocked, but maybe we will. Yeah, we will. Okay, cool. And then I have 2 points left, so the question is, do I want either of these? Removes your attraction penalty in seduction schemes. Seduction scheme success chance against own courtiers, I guess, is 50%. Seduction scheme power and like weeds. I'm really not going to use these 2 points. I guess it really doesn't matter. We'll just take the bottom 2. And then we'll get started. So that bumped us up to 24, and we're much better at scheming now than we were, so that's good. Alright, we got a lot of stuff. There's so much to do in this game. The first hour of gameplay, you know, you could spend setting things up. Let's take a look at our court real quick and see where we're at. Okay. We have a competent diplomat who would be willing to join us for 3 whole gold. What does our council look like? The nice thing about our council right now is none of these people are vassals. So I don't have to worry about losing more approval than normal by kicking them off of their seat if they're just not very good at their job. All in all, we don't have a terrible chancellor or marshal. Our steward has a pretty low score, and our spy master's pretty mediocre. Let's go back through our court real quick and see. So we got a 14. Our chancellor's already at a 14. This guy doesn't look like he's any better. So no diplomats. We got a 14 and a 16. That is our marshal. And then stewardship. I'm not seeing anything better. We have a 12. So our steward with the 9 is actually a decent spy master as well. That's good to know. Nobody else, however, is very good at any of those tasks. I guess the question then is he any good at any other tasks? And not particularly. So we're going to leave him. I am not going to pick this guy up right away. He doesn't even like me, although if I did add him to my court, he probably would. We're going to go ahead and start the search for a physician. That'll give us a choice between 2 new characters that we can add to our court. And you should generally do that pretty frequently. There's no real penalty to do it. There is a cooldown on how frequently you can do it. But the advantage is that sometimes you get a character that is a physician, in quotation marks, that is also really good at something else, and you can sort of pivot them into another role if you already have a better physician. But it is just an interesting way to get new characters in your court. And again, it doesn't cost you anything, and you can always deny if you don't want either of the people. You can always just say no thanks. Okay, so physician task is done. I don't need to worry about that, but we definitely need to do this. So this is one of the things that really threw me off. One of the first times I switched from playing a feudal lord to a tribal lord, and that is this right here. I noticed that the amounts were different, and I was like, huh, that's weird. Maybe it's just because I'm in a different time period. Well, it's not just that they're different in quantity, they're also different in the resource. And I totally missed this the first time I was playing. So I kept looking at my gold and being like, man, I'll never be able to afford light footmen. I'll never be able to afford bowmen. But then I realized later on, or was pointed out by somebody that I watched a YouTube video, this is the resource you're spending to purchase these guys. So it's actually your renown or your prestige resource. Not your renown. Your prestige resource. And that's way different. There's way different ways to get prestige than there are to get gold. So when you're playing a feudal lord, it's all about finding ways to advance your gold. Gold is really important. But when you're playing a tribal lord, prestige is more important in many cases. And you start with a pretty good chunk of it, so you want to use it wisely. We could use our prestige to grab a couple of different units here, and I may end up doing that. But before I mess with that, I want to look at my knights, because I have a feeling, as I'm rightly so, that my knights are hot garbage. My best knight has an attack of 12, which is just really not great. This is pretty average. Inviting champions is a great way to possibly improve the quality of our knights, and in a one-on-one fight where we're relatively even in numbers and quality of troops, having superior knights can really make a difference. I've had a couple of playthroughs where I've just had a lot of really high quality knights, and even though my army's mostly made of levies, I've been able to wreck people just through the strength of my champions. There is risk to this, but I think it's worth doing. And there is a tooltip here. Here it is. So we'll get at least 3 able-bodied men with 12 or higher prowess. So the lowest I could get would be 3 12s, which would be significantly better than all but our very best champion currently. This has a cooldown of 10 years, so you can only do this a couple of times over a lifetime, but you definitely want to do it pretty regularly, and particularly right before or right after a war, if it's available to you. Right before a war, obviously, to get better soldiers, or right after a war to replace the ones that maybe died in combat or are getting older. Prowess is a stat that degrades over time. As your characters get older, their prowess will drop off significantly. So that's important to know. If you have a really powerful knight and you're 15, 20 years down the road, he could be losing some of his stats. So we're going to spend half of our current prestige on getting some better quality knights, and then on the other half, I am going to go ahead and buy a military unit. Now, I have a theory on military units currently, and I'm going to throw it out there. I don't know that this is correct, but this is my opinion on military units, and that is Pikemen are king. And the reason I say Pikemen are king is pretty simple. And it comes down to this right here. And I've done the math on this in-game a couple of times, anecdotally, to see if it plays out. But the way that these stats work, so if you're not familiar, let's just click on Levy. Your basic peasant levy unit, non-military unit, has a damage of 10 and a toughness of 10. They take 10 damage, they die, they deal 10 damage. I don't know exactly how the math works, but that's essentially the way it works. Every one of these units will deal 10 damage and take 10 damage and die. Okay, so when we look at Pikemen, why do I like Pikemen so much? Well, every Pikeman, when they attack, are going to basically kill 2 levies. And it's going to take 2 to 3 levies to kill a single pikeman. Which means, in raw numbers, what this comes out to is basically a 3-to-1 advantage. So every pikeman you have will kill 3 levies before they die 2 levies. Okay, so that's one reason why I like the pikemen. Now, let's look at light footmen. We can see that light footmen have slightly better defense, but they still die pretty easily to the pikemen, and it still takes 2 or more of these footmen to kill a pikeman. So we're still at a 3-to-1 advantage-ish. What about bowmen? Well, bowmen kill pikemen pretty quickly. One bowman attack will kill a pikeman, right? But a pikeman attack will kill basically 2 bowmen because they have such low defense. So even in this circumstance, you tend to come out ahead, or at least closer to even. So if they buy a bunch of bowmen, you buy a bunch of pikemen, you should still come out ahead. Horsemen. Horsemen have pretty good stats. However, they are countered by pikemen. So horsemen are a more expensive unit that is countered by a cheaper unit. And the cheaper unit actually has better stats than a light horseman. So I have basically equal attack but better defense. We're not going to worry about pursuit or screening right now. But just in a straight-up battle, one-on-one, pikemen are going to win. So right now at the beginning of the game, we know pikemen are better than levies, pikemen are better than footmen, pikemen are slightly better than bowmen, and pikemen are better than horsemen. The only thing that they're not better than are armored footmen. Armored footmen are incredibly good. They are heavy infantry. They counter spearmen. They have better stats than spearmen. But they're also more expensive than spearmen. And here's the kicker in why I'm not worried about armored footmen. Armored footmen are countered by skirmishers. So, at the beginning of the game, these are basically the most expensive unit you can get. It is the only unit that will outperform pikemen. And they are countered by the cheapest non-levy unit in the game. Therefore, pikemen are king. And the more pikemen you can have in an army, the higher quality and better you will fare, regardless of what the enemy brings to bear. Because if they bring a bunch of light footmen, we beat them. If they bring a bunch of bowmen, we still beat them. If they bring light horsemen, we straight up counter them, and they spent more than we did. If they bring armored footmen, we pick up a couple of cheap units of light footmen, we counter the armored footmen, and we beat them. So pikemen are, I think, the most important unit to pick up in the early game. So we're going to go ahead and buy our first pikeman unit. And I want you to notice that the upkeep cost of these pikemen is also in prestige. So we're going to have to find ways to boost our prestige. You can see that our prestige per month right now has dropped to a very, very small amount, which means we won't be building prestige very quickly, but it is still positive. This also means that when this army becomes active, this cost is going to go up, and we're going to be at a negative rate. So we'll definitely want to find some ways to boost our prestige. Okay, so now that we've taken care of our military, we need to raise these troops up. We currently have 5. We'll get some per month. And once this is full, and once we get our new knights, we should be ready to maybe take on the Earldom of Osira. That will unite our duchy and help us create a new title. Alright, we got some other things going on. We got too few spouses. So many things at the beginning of the game to take care of. Let's take a look at spouses. There's a lot you can do with spouses. Trying to think of how I want to go about this. So, for my primary spouse, at the beginning of the game, there's a couple of things that I could look for. The first thing is an alliance, and we could look for an alliance with somebody that's nearby. We could help simplify this by using the search window, and we want to search for Irish spouses because I want to find somebody that's on the island. I also only want an adult, so no children. And it looks like there is one potential ally. Ooh, she is bad though. This one is actually a little bit better. In fact, a lot better. Okay. Stat-wise, she's compassionate, she's generous, but she's lazy. Are there any other ones? Okay, so there's this one. Her stats are not as good. That's curious that... Oh, this is a claim, not an alliance. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pick up her. This will give us an alliance with this guy. And go ahead and send that proposal. So that's going to be this guy right here. So if we get an alliance with him, we can make quick work of this guy unless he picks up an alliance somewhere as well. Okay, let's go ahead and designate a guardian for this kid. It looks like he is well suited for a diplomatic education. So our best diplomat would probably be this chancellor. The other option would be to use the wife that I just picked up. But I think we can go ahead and apply the chancellor. So that takes care of him for a little while. Second thing we need to do, and this is one of my own personal little tricks of the trade, is insular Christianity allows for you to have multiple wives. So it's an interesting religion in that respect. And one of the things that we really need to improve on if we're going to be successful is our spy master. We're going to need a better spy master. And so one of the ways that I've been able to get really good spy masters in the past, the spy master, for whatever reason, even in a society that only allows males to be rulers or whatnot, you can still get a spy master that is a female. And you can actually make it one of your queens. So, if we take a look at all options here, there are a couple of characters who might make some particularly good spy masters. In fact, 3 to be exact. One of them has the beautiful trait, which is nice. She is vengeful, cynical, and arrogant, however, which could be problematic, and she doesn't like us. Just out of curiosity, possessed. Ooh. What is this? A sudden changes in emotion, awareness, and ability. Huh. Okay. There are no characters at the top of the list that approve of us whatsoever. So that's kind of an irrelevant point. The only thing that this character is going to be used for is the Spy Master, and also potentially making babies. So this one actually might be my best bet. So let's go ahead and send this out as well. And we'll kick her out of that job with her crappy 10 in Intrigue. Okay. So now I've got most of those things done. The next thing that I want to do is I want to get a better steward than this guy. This guy's terrible. So, one way that I can do that is I can use my court. And we can look for characters in my court that are female. Any female character that is unmarried in my court. Maybe this chick. We're going to fire her from being the Spy Master. She's lustful, sadistic, and vengeful. That is a bad combination of traits for a Spy Master to have. She's not going to be very happy with me when we do this either. Is there any character, any female that actually likes me? This one's not bad. What is she? She's temperate, chaste, and paranoid. And she's an amateur plotter. I wish there were the option to do the sorting from this menu. I don't know why you don't have the little things that I can sort people by over here at the top, but it would be nice if there was. Cynical, forgiving, compassionate, and an education traits. Let's go ahead and use this chick. So she's not particularly good, but she's okay. And we're going to find her a spouse. Now, I want a spouse with a really high stewardship skill. Preferably somebody who doesn't hate my guts and is going to turn on me. Craven and sadistic are not very good, but this guy has some promise. He's ambitious, temperate, and craven. That gives us a score of 12. That's not amazing. Lots of cravens at the top of the list. Curious. The top 4 characters with stewardship are all craven. How far down do I have to go to not get a craven? I gotta go all the way down to 11, which is barely better than what we have. So I guess we're gonna go with this guy. Let's take a look at him. Yeah, he had a good education. If he's craven, he's not likely to turn against us. It'll be difficult for him. Alright, we'll send this proposal, and if he accepts, then we will make him our new steward. So now we've improved the stats of most of our council positions. So this one's been improved. This one's been improved. Let's see if we can improve this one and this one as well. We have a couple more females that I can marry off in my council here. I didn't marry her off yet. Let's see if we marry her off. Yeah, there's not a lot. So of the potential available, this 16 guy is actually the highest. So I guess we're not going to get a better marshal. What about a diplomat? Yeah, there aren't very many better diplomats either. At least that we're aware of. So that's fine. That's as good as we're going to get at the beginning of the game here. Okay. So using your court to get new people into your court with better stats than the ones you have is one way to help. It does come with some problems because you're introducing new cultures and religions into your territory, which can lead to some approval problems. But it's often worth it. Is there anything else I really want to do at the very, very beginning of the game? I don't think so. I think we've got everything going for us that we need to. So we're going to go ahead and unpause and get going. Okay, mental break. This happened because I reset my stats at the very beginning of the game. So this is fine. We started with 100 stress. We will get rid of some of this. We can donate to charity and lose 39 stress. Or confess our sins. Gain disturbing confession. What is contrite? Interesting. Lose intrigue. And the general opinion of us drops by 5 throughout the realm. I don't really want to do either of those things. So we'll donate to charity and we'll be in debt. I gladly accept your marriage proposal. Excellent. And because you've accepted our marriage proposal, we are now going to put you in as steward. Slightly better steward score is helpful. Alright. We're not endorsed by our bishop and we're in debt. So one thing that we need to do is get this guy to like us, because this gives us more money, among other things. Also, we just generally need more people to like us. But if I do that, we're going to go negative on prestige. This is one way to get more prestige, which is really helpful, especially in a tribal government. So I can't really do much with that. But we can start to sway our bishop, hopefully. Alright. And let's go ahead and unlock again. Okay, so our second wife and our first wife. Okay. Okay, these are our physicians. So what did we get for a physician? Okay, so this guy's actually a reasonably good diplomat, but we already have a 14. So this just generates a random character with reasonably... Well, actually, one of them's got really low learning, and the other one's got much better learning. This guy's actually not a bad marshal. He has an 8 for prowess. We don't have the money to hire either of these now, unfortunately. So we're just going to go both fail to impress me at this point. Okay, she doesn't like me. Which one is she? Yeah, this is not the one that I wanted for my primary. Which sucks because... this is the one I wanted for my primary. So I'm going to... No, not murder. Make primary spouse. That's going to make her really hate me. But we're going to put her... Well, I guess I gotta wait for a second. Okay, now, if I click on Intrigue... Here we go. No. Let's try this again. There she is. We can assign her as my primary spy master. Now, I'm going to want to do some things to get her to like me. Oof. A 0% chance of getting this done. Let's finish swaying our bishop for now. Can we fabricate a hook? Let's try and fabricate a hook on her. That will help. Maybe we can use that hook to get her to like us. Surely that's how hooks work. Okay. The other thing that we need to do is maybe start training. It's going to take us a while to recover gold. And there's a penalty for raising your army when you have negative gold and you're in debt. But this potentially gives us better commanders and knights that will sometimes just randomly join us. I think I am going to leave it on this because we are raising our new unit of pikemen. So we're going to wait a little while. And I'm just going to let the game roll for a little bit. And so the objective right now is basically recover from this early investment. Our first champion arrived. This is bad. I forgot about the champions. So we're going to have a bunch of guys come to court with reasonably good prowess, but no ability to pay them. So I go to court here, I can see he would join us for 3 coin. Also, we don't have a physician currently, but we could get one. Our one wife is at a 16. Let's go ahead and make her the court physician for now. So we'll go down here and appoint her as the court physician. And I won't be able to do that either. That's unfortunate. Right, this guy has a 12, so we got a 14 and a 12. Not great. He's got an 18 for martial though. So he could be a better martial than the one we have. Ever so slightly. Popular opinion is bad. Well, we'll see if we can't solve that problem at some point here. I want to be able to declare war on this guy, and I don't have a claim. If I had any type of a claim here, I could declare war on him. But it does not allow me to. Oh, it's because we're in debt. Never mind. Ah, yeah, the debt thing really hosed us. I probably should have chose the third option. This is going to take a little while. And I don't have any way to really speed it up. Actually, I do have one way to speed it up. Okay. Maybe. So right now, assisting a ruler is giving us +1 to basically everything. I could have her manage the domain specifically and just give a straight up +3 to stewardship, which will increase our money by about 10%. But still better than nothing. So let's go ahead and do that, I guess. We got a lot of people that don't like us right now. It's kind of scary. Alright, the next thing I can do... let's see. How's our army looking? We can raise some raiders and go raid somebody. We've got the earldom. We don't want to attack this guy because he's our... These guys have 300 soldiers. This guy has a lot of soldiers. Notice that he has 3,000 special soldiers. Those are kind of like levies, but they don't replenish like normal levies do. They're just like a one-time gift that they get at the beginning of the game because they're Norse. And they have a lot of, you know, Vikings with them. But eventually they run out of those troops. There's a chance that we could raid them. Looking for somebody who's weak. Probably this guy. Yeah, we could go raid these two. Okay, so let's go ahead and raise some raiders. And let's head over here and raid this guy and see if we can't get some gold from raiding. Real quick, this guy is a 14. So we got a 14, a 14, and a 12 for our champions. Nobody that is very exceptional, but all better than what we currently have, -1. Alright, we should be able to beat these guys down pretty easily. Yeah, so this will be a no contest. Victory. And I'm going to pause and I want to show you real quick that our pikemen were a little better than 3-1. So we lost 7 pikemen, but we killed 25, while our levies were basically 1-2-ish. We almost lost more levies than we killed. Well, we did. We lost 40 levies and we only killed 27 with them. But keep in mind that they were also fighting knights. You can see their levies did disastrously, and that has a lot to do with our knights and our pikemen being superior. So again, my theory seems to be playing out expectedly. Okay. Fabricate a hook. A daring rescue. Would it not be wonderful if Chiestis Leo, I'm not even going to try to say that, owed me, not out of fear, but out of gratitude, if I, for example, were to save her from a vicious bandit while she was out traveling? Indeed, vicious bandits like the men currently waiting outside the castle gate. I would charge in with my guards at the last moment, driving them off and leaving Leo in a life debt to me. 70% chance of success, 80% chance of secrecy. 50 gold. What? Okay, well, we're gonna have to do this. Alright, we got a strong hook on her, though. What can I do with a strong hook? Alright. The bishop's favor... Oh, fervor increase. I thought his favor increased. We're still working on sway. Child benefits from my tutelage. Gained a trait pregnant. Alright, let's Let's see. What can we do with this hook? We can demand conversion. That would actually help. Convert. Demand conversion. She will not accept, but she will if I use a hook. Having her the same religion as us... what is the religious penalty? Foreign culture group... Vengeful... She's giving a -5 from insular Christianity. Do we want to use this hook here, though? Or would I prefer to use it elsewhere? I think there might be a better time. Alright, we'll pass on that for now. That is one option we have. I really need to do something about that. Okay. So our army, for some reason, is not raiding. Why are we not raiding? There is 15 raid loot here. Is it because there's still an army over here? I guess we'll go beat them down again real quick. I don't know. Is it because I don't have the game? Something weird's going on. There's definitely 15 loot here to raid. But maybe we gotta beat these guys out of here. Alright. Let's get this raiding done. And again, let's take a look at the details. Very good. Pikemen are doing a good job. I don't know why I'm not raiding. Huh. He's raiding. Alright, we got a new son. Let's give him a strong Irish name. Ooh, Dunchad. Dunchad? Yeah, whatever. I do not understand why we're not raiding, but I'm gonna go ahead and disband this army. He's been beat down a lot. Do we have any way of declaring war on him? We do not, because we're still... That was the whole point of doing the raiding, was to get money! Okay, neighboring ruler 1. Alright, this sway scheme is almost completed. If we get a positive approval from our priest, we're going to move on to our wife. Try to improve her standing with us. That sucked that we had to go into even more debt. Uh-oh. I think the game's gonna crash. Yes, it did. Okay, well, I guess that's the end of this video. For whatever reason, the game continues to crash whenever I try to live stream it. I don't seem to have any problems while I'm not live streaming, so this just may not be something I can live stream for a little while until I get my computer in better state. So unfortunately, that's going to be all for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully we can get a better one down the road. But